All right. Well, thank you all for attending this session about Eventide. Eventide is a manufacturer of recording solutions. We have been around since 1971. We've been making digital recorders since the mid 80s. So we've had a lot of experience and have been able to evolve our solutions with a lot of input from our customers. And we have about 7,000 of them scattered around the world. We probably have had it or manufactured over 12,000, but 7,000 are active, and we are solely focused on the mission critical marketplace. So we have about 3,000 911 centers. We do air traffic control recording for about 60 countries. We run all the submarines, all the Coast Guard ships. The Navy's buying a bunch for the rest of their fleet. We're in military bases. We're in a lot of manufacturing plants. So all the Toyota plants, Beech Nut Baby Foods, Boeing, John Deere. We're in a lot of hospitals in their emergency departments, recording what doctors and EMTs say to each other. And in airlines, we do all the recording for American Airlines dispatch operations, for JetBlue, for part of Alaska Airlines. And there we're recording dispatchers, not reservations. And then we do a number of airports, Dallas, Fort Worth, Vegas, Baltimore, Washington, Omaha, Manchester, and then a lot of transit authorities. In California, we've got LA Metro, AC Metro, we've got the New York City MTA and New Jersey Transit. And what all these customers have in common is they record a lot and play back relatively little. But when they go to playback, there's usually heat attached to the situation, and that recording had better be there. And that's really what we're good at, is making sure that when somebody needs to recreate an incident, we've got all the voice with the time and data there for them. And the other thing that we have is an American-based company. So our coders, our people that assemble our servers are all in New Jersey, about 15, 20 minutes from Manhattan. So we are at the most, well, I guess with Alaska, 4 hours from our customers and from a time perspective. And we try to do 2 to 3 to 4 software releases a year so that the product stays current and our users can take advantage of new developments in the software. And we have a lot of customers, as I mentioned. Here are some of the customers we have in California. I think San Mateo, Butte, Sutter, the LA Metro, the AC Metro. Even the 49ers bought some equipment from us last year. But we also have some very large deployments. San Antonio with 1,800 channels. They're the 7th largest city in America. We've deployed across most of Amtrak's operations, and then have some familiar cities here that use our equipment. And the important thing here is we only have one primary solution. And whether you're San Antonio or you're a small Eastern Montana PSAP with 2 positions, you get the same software, the same box, the same reliability. So we don't make a good box and a cheap box. We have one box that can be molded into each user's environment. And at the end of the day, we really only offer 2 things. We offer reliability and ease of use. Reliability starts with a Linux operating system. So we don't have the care and feeding of a Microsoft product. We don't have a million bad guys writing malware against us. We've actually had maybe 25, 30 communities get hit with malware or ransomware. And so far, knock on wood, we have not been touched. The other part of being reliable is having local dealers and partners that are on the ground, usually within 2 to 4 hours where the equipment is installed, who know how to say how high when you say jump. So if we tried to run support or training or installation out of New Jersey, we would fail miserably. But we have dealers across California that are going to be there, that you're a big fish in their pond, and that's a big help to us, but more importantly to our customers. And then ease of use is important. So we have sites like San Antonio that exported 11,000 recordings last year. They have 4 paralegals, that's all they do. St. Louis, Pittsburgh, they have dedicated people that just pull calls all day. But the other 99% of our customers have a million things to do. They have to answer calls, do their paperwork, and then, oh, by the way, I got to recreate that incident from last night. So we try to make it simple. So it starts with a pure HTML5 user interface, which means you can use Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer from any PC and play back. We also have about 60 different integrations. So we can tag recordings with metadata. So lat long, push to talk ID, caller ID. So you can narrow your search and get to what you're looking for faster and easier. And we can also give you some more tools to run your operation. We have a quality assurance package that will allow the system to randomly find recordings based on your parameters, and then you can score performance. That comes with a speech to text tool. We do screen recording for a lot of PSAPs, so you can get the whole picture, not just the voice, but what was actually entered into the CAD system. And then we have a very powerful reporting engine that will let you build a report, have it run on any interval you want, and be delivered to whoever you want. And we have luxury of touching LMR, 911, admin, CAD systems, so you can have a very holistic report of what you have been doing. And we have a very good integration with Rapid SOS. And we have been involved with the NENA i3 Next Gen standards works for the last 10 years. We've been to every interoperability event. I think we had an event this morning that our coders were on. And we're ready with SIPREC recording, event logging, and are ready. We offer a couple of versions of our 740, actually really just 2. One is a server-based unit that is a 3U rack-mounted server that we assemble in New Jersey, but we also offer a virtual machine software only. And then we have a smart edge capture device if you wanted to capture some analog in a VM environment or you were doing centralized recording. But the workhorse that we have deployed around the world is the server-based one, and we assemble that in New Jersey. We do that because we're in the mission critical world. So we don't think that Dell or HP care enough about our customers to make sure everything's going to work well. So we buy commercial off-the-shelf components, power supplies, disk arrays, motherboards. In this way, we can tune the drivers in those components to work perfectly with our software. There's no surprises when a technician goes out to install, everything's going to work. It also gives our customers one back to pat. So if you have a hard drive problem, you call the same partner that you would call for software problems. There's no finger pointing. So one phone call gets you a fix. And then finally, if there's a problem in 2026, we don't have to guess what we were Dell or HP selling back in 2020. We know exactly what's in that box. This front panel is an option. You don't have to buy it. It acts like a KVM. I'd say 95% of our customers do buy it because a tech or a user can do anything he needs to from that box. But also I can look at it and I see those pink boxes that tells me I'm recording and life is good. And this box can go from 8 to 560 inputs, and that can be a mix of analog, digital, or IP. So no more buying 2 separate servers because you have analog and IP. Our user interface comes with 2 tools. One is Instant Recall, and this is designed for your frontline people to quickly and easily replay a recording, slow it down, speed it up, loop it so you can get that address down pat. And what's unique about ours is You don't load any software on the PCs. You just point your browser at the recorder, but you can play back while the call is taking place. So if you had a barricade or a suicide situation, somebody could be listening live and helping that call taker with what to say next. You can live monitor any or all your inputs from these little speakers here. That comes in very handy for supervisors who can listen to the radio off their PC or listen to that new hire and see how they're doing. And that comes standard. And then we have incident reconstruction. So with our incident reconstruction tool, it allows you to go in, figure out when did an incident start, when did it end, who all was involved. And then you can add text and voice annotations to key parts of the recordings. And then we have audio redaction built in so that if you needed to take a name or an address out, it's all part of the standard offering. It's not an option. And we give you 8 ways of sharing recordings. So we'll give you a lot of tools so that you can get the recordings off the hard drives and to a DA or to another person, and get the ball rolling on that. So one of our more popular options is our mobile access, and this allows anybody out in the field to pull up their Android or Apple device and then replay calls. But they also get full functionality. So if you had officers out in the field and they're going to an incident, rather than broadcasting that out to everybody, you can be very specific and strategic and send it to specific teams of officers or EMTs or firefighters, and not everybody out in the world is going to hear it. So it's very handy for that. Fire chiefs like this, so they can pull up mutual aid that their radio doesn't pick up. They can listen to everything that's being recorded in the PSAP or at the police station, and it's very controllable. We do lat long capture. We capture it from the Annie Alley CAD spill based on the last rebid, or we capture it through rapid SOS, typically both. One is more accurate than the other. You can do geofencing. You could have it up as a reader board just to see where your calls are coming in from. You can do heat maps, and that's also a very popular option. And we pop Google or Bing for free with that, or we can do any Esri-based mapping tool. And then with the rapid SOS integration, we'll show a green thumbtack for where the Annie Alley data is or location is, and then the rapid SOS. So here's a little blow up of that. We'll capture breadcrumbs, and then as you're replaying the recording, there'll be a green halo on the blue dots. We stop playing back there, so these are still all blue. And then we do text to 911 7 different ways because the NENA standard hasn't unified everybody. So we do it for CallWorks, Solacom, Best of Viper, and then we can still do TTY and TDD lines. And then screen capture, I would say all of our large PSAPs record the screens because things can go wrong in between what was said and what was entered into the CAD. And it's important to be able to see that. So we have places in California that do full-time 24/7 screen capture. Most of our air traffic control recorders do that. Most people have it start whenever the agent touches their mouse or their keyboard. And then you'll get not only what they're doing while they're on a call, but also when they're not on a call. As I mentioned, our QA tool has the APCO NENA forms built into it, and it has a randomizer where you can put in some very specific parameters, like I want Charlie's recording, I need 10 of them that are over 4.5 minutes. It'll bring them back, and then you can score them, and nobody can accuse you of playing favorites or picking on somebody. The system found it. And then with our reporting engine, that data that you generate can be viewed at. And so you can start doing some real root cause analysis and drilling down into the center, into a shift, into a person, and get some actionable data out of there. With that, you get a speech to text tool that lets you highlight a number of recordings. You can right click on them, and then you can search for specific words. So if I was looking to do QA on calls that had the word heart attack, I could use this tool. I can also help you find those medical calls through CAD. So we have a number of CAD integrations. Our latest one is Versaterm, but we do the two going forward Central Square products. We also can still do the Superion, which used to be SunGuard, Hexagon, and this gives you a lot of power to start tracking by incident type, by incident ID, by disposition, and what we get depends a little bit on each one of the CAD vendors. We have an integration to Aqua, so if you are doing EMD, you can go into Aqua and it will open up a window in our recorder and you'll see the calls that you're going to evaluate, and you never have to turn on our application. It'll all happen through Aqua. Priority Dispatch actually bought our recorder maybe 4 years ago, and they use it for their internal QA work. This is a report directors like. I could have a report like this run every night at 12:01, and it'll tell me how many phone calls I took, how many 911 calls I took, how many radio transmissions. And the directors like this because you can justify budget. Everybody gets a nice 911 report, but it's hard to explain to somebody that one phone call could tie up somebody for 3 or 4 hours. And this lets them put it all in one piece of reporting. A new feature that we have is what we call Broadcastify. It allows PSAPs to broadcast LMR audio to the website Broadcastify, and you can put a delay on it. So if I wanted the public to hear my LMR, but I didn't want them to hear it live, you could put a 10, 15, 20-minute delay on it and buy your resources more time before the reporters or the bad guys show up and cause headaches. This has been pretty popular with the protests because the protesters are carrying the app on their phones. Our configuration manager is browser-based as well, so our partners can remote in and diagnose and repair without actually having to come on site. And we have a lot of integrations. So over, I think, 60 now, and they get deployed very quickly. A typical install would be a day and a half at the most. And I think just to wrap up, the reason we've been having so much luck out there and getting into bigger and larger deployments is our Linux-based reliability. The fact that it's easy to use, it's all American, and you got one back to Pat, and we have a lot of dealers out there that are going to say how high when you say jump. And then the integrations. Now that we have over 60 of them, there's hardly anything that we run into that we don't already have an integration other than CAD. There's a lot of CAD vendors and we haven't knocked them all down yet. So any questions?
So if anybody has questions, remember to unmute yourself. Looks like none. Good job, Mark. Thank you for participating.
All right, well, thanks for putting this effort together. I'm sure it was not easy.